在美国发展的日本籍 keyboard 手 Bigyuki 被称为是 New York City's musical secret weapon。那他也即将4月份来台湾演出。他在巡回途中，我们乐手巢有幸访问到他，那就废话不多说，接下来看我们的访问影片吧。Yeah, so we're glad to have you here with us. And you're in Saudi Arabia. Are you just on vacation or you're on tour?
I'm on tour with Miss Lauryn Hill.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, having a show this week. Yeah, I got a few days off, so just trying to soak the sun in as much as I can.
That is one nice looking backdrop, as you were saying.
I know. No way I don't share this with y'all.
Thank you for sharing it with us. So now you're mostly living in New York, and would you say that New York is your musical home?
Yeah, New York is my home, period.
And we hear that a lot, that you're called New York City's musical secret weapon.
I've been a secret for a long time.
Oh, that is a very open secret weapon.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be secret, but yeah, I guess I'm still kind of like undiscovered in a way, but yeah.
But what?
I've been around for a while.
Yeah. So I think your breakthrough was in 2016-ish?
Breakthrough. Yeah, well, I've had several pivotal moments in my career and my life.
Right.
And obviously the first one was 2000, the year 2000, when I decided to move to States to study music. And yeah, I made my move to New York around 2007, and around 2007, 2008, I started working with, several artists who were at that time based in New York, including Talib Kweli and Bilal. So that was like the actual beginning of my, a New York musical life.
And, what makes you think you're called New York's, musical secret weapon then?
I mean, I don't consider myself secret. I'd love to be as...
Yeah. You want to be known.
Yeah, I want to be known. I want to be accepted. Sure. I want to make friends. But, I don't know, maybe like the way that I approach music, that way that I contribute to the music is maybe in a way unique. Like I don't really see myself tied up to any specific genre. A lot of times it's a strength for people. It's a forte for, a lot of musicians to be like, hey, I play this. Just me, the way that I learn, the way that I kind of, navigating myself through this musical journey was, in a way unique. I started off playing classical when I was little, came to the States, and then I got introduced to not only jazz, not only straight ahead, but gospel music, funk music, and hip hop, and electronic music. And then it's like you're in a room, right? And you're thinking of what you want to do. And then you find something that you find something that you like. And then you have someone knocking on the door, be like, hey, come with me, and try this. Like I feel like in each moment, each phases of my musical life, I had somewhat like a mentor kind of people, kind of navigating me, and it took me to different places.
Right.
There were years that I was, really playing in church as part of the church band, and then I learned so much. That everything was completely new experience for me, culturally and then musically.
Of course.
As you mentioned, 2016. I guess that's the year that I participated in the making of Tribe Called Quest album, and yeah, that happened. Like that, I got introduced to Tip through my musical friend, my musician friends, who'd been working with him.
Right.
And I got introduced to the camp. I started working with them, and I started going to the studio and start working.
You mentioned moving from Japan to the States, attending Berklee.
Yeah.
That is a big move in your life, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And as we're located in Taiwan, and Taiwan and Japan, we share some similarities. Even though we speak different languages, but culturally, we are pretty close. right? So I'm interested to know, what suggestions would you give to people who, like, let's say in Japan or Taiwan, they want to attend Berklee because Berklee is a very well-known musical institute, right? And what was your experience like when you first arrived there? Maybe language was still I wouldn't say a problem, but you're not really used to that yet, and culturally it's all very different.
Not at all. No. I mean, I studied, like, everybody studies English in high school to a certain degree. Everybody knows how to introduce yourself, and everybody knows how to say this is a pen. Or is a toilet and all this stuff. And everybody knows how to like write sentences and stuff, but nobody really gets to practice how to apply that in real life.
Exactly.
And I mean, like when I, first started going to English school out in Boston before starting Berklee. Like, like when I was talking to, the people, right? Like from all over the places, speaking in English. And then people are like, hey, hi, hey, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply whatever that I learned in high school. I'm like, hi, how are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. And you? Like, this is like, that's my go-to, right? And people are like, yo, you sound like a robot. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm just like a fucking broken tape recorder. So I started like really, like talking from my soul. But you know what? I quickly learned that it's not really about like what you say, but about what the other is saying, like what you hear. Because when you have conversation, you need to understand what the other is saying, right? Like have a conversation. And I think that you can apply that to music also. It's not really about what you play, but about like listening and understanding what's going on around you, and then find your place to apply yourself to, like make the contribution.
Cool. So
that's one of the things that I quickly learned.
So listen to others.
Listen to others, yes. And that connected to respecting others, like giving others their space, and then find your own place in it.
And having worked in both Japan and the US, how different would you say those two places are? Like musically, or just like lives in general?
Well, I started like really working in Japan after somewhat established myself, after I established myself in the States.
Yeah.
Maybe, my experience as a musician is different from someone who, grew up and stayed in Japan, or Taiwan, and being a musician in that scene, in the local scene, in a way. I bet it's different, but like whenever I wherever I work, wherever I play music, I'm trying to be as honest as I can be. Just stay true to myself, stay true to my sound. So, I don't really feel the differences. Maybe the way the audience react to what I do is different, but I'm not trying to let that influence what I do too much.
Because we have heard from other people, like artists that I have interviewed, who also work work in the States. They mentioned that they feel like the resources in the States are very closed, as in like they probably don't share it as much. Like you really need to work your way in, to the scene, that sort of thing. But having read about your past experience, it almost feels like you had a different experience.
I don't know if it's like an American thing. I don't know if it's like a New York thing or LA thing. I'm not sure, but in some part it's kind of cliquey, Once you in, but if you're not in, but I think that's kind of similar everywhere. I'm not sure. Is that because like the scene in or you mentioned Taiwan scene, right?
Yeah.
The scene in Taiwan, probably is not as big or as broad.
That is true.
It's like all these like micro, like scenes or cliques, right? Like the circle of friends,
right.
Circle of musicians, people. Well, like, you know, a lot of times those circles are established during the college time. Those circles get established as you share the similar struggle. You know, it's so easy, like for example, for me to, you know, like establish a friendship with the fellow Japanese musicians in New York. It's because we understand like what we've been through, you know, and that's just it just helps. It's establishing this, you know, kind of like a trustful relationship, like really quick.
Because you also, you know, again, having read about your story, you know, you worked with some rappers in hip-hop scenes like Talib Kweli, you know, Belial, and you also mentioned the gospel, right? You played a lot in the church music, right? So it felt like you got accepted into a different community rather quickly.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say quickly. Well, when I work on my bio, I have to keep it short, right?
Right.
So maybe it makes it seem like everything just happening like this. But nah, it's just being around for years, you know. I definitely had some several years of me just doing absolutely nothing, like just kind of lost in information, lost in, you know, like I getting overwhelmed with life, period. You know, like I didn't find myself being able to contribute anything constructive and positive in a scene in the US or like in music, period. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life when I was in high school. And that was one of the big reasons that I moved to the States.
Right.
To completely change the scenery. And I kind of used music as like my way to find a connection to the different world. You know, I wasn't necessarily determined to be a musician when I first moved to US. Music was just one of few things that I had, which I continued doing since I was little. It was just one of my ways to, you know, to find my place in the world.
Right. Going from your own work, right? You know, you had your album, you know, Greek Fire to 2099, and then your most recent album, Neon Fire. Neon Chapter.
Neon Fire is kind of fire. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I got Greek Fire and Neon Chapter mixed together.
Right.
Neon Fire.
That'll be my next one. Neon Fire. Disco Inferno.
Yeah. And how would you say, you know, your musical journey throughout the years kind of changed or influenced all the different works of yours? Because, you know, when I listened to your album, you know, 2099 was the album that kind of reflects on the pandemic, right? It was created like around the time during the lockdown. And I almost feel like
it was inevitable.
Yeah, I almost feel like that album is the most cheerful album. That was kind of my listening experience. So I'm interested in knowing, you know, how you felt about all the different albums, like your artist progression, and, you know, going from album to album, that kind of thing.
I think I am just, you know, by nature, I'm an optimistic person. You know, I get drawn to some like real dark, harsh sound, you know, but like I just find myself just not being projected, you know, that approach in a way that I want. Like just I'm like, you know, at the root, I guess I would say I'm a happy person. Yeah, I kind of see like my music, you know, like without any like intention, like end up sounding, well, not necessarily happy, but, you know, kind of uplifting, which, you know, like I don't mind, because, you know, I mean, the life is hard, and then the things that's happening in the world is like really, really, you know, challenging. It's really hard.
That is,
you know, and we just gotta have to, you know, live through it, you know, just, and maintain like healthy mind and healthy body, and, you know, just be the best of, you know, the best version of ourselves, right, throughout these challenges that life throws at you. And then you know, I just, you know, I mean, and then I hope that music, you know, that just the music that comes from deep within, you know, like I hope that is something that will help people, because to me the process of making music is to find myself and heal myself. It's like the self-healing process.
Right.
So if that, when that comes out of my, self and go out to the wild, and if that, if some people find, help in that, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, because like
I'm not out here trying to heal world, but I hope that happens, because it's clearly healing me.
It's interesting to know because like there are times when we hear about how the album was like made during the pandemic. Pandemic was like a gloomy time, right? And then so there are some people, it's like, oh, because it is gloomy, therefore I want to bring, joy. I want to, cheer people up. But there are some artists that might reflect on the, the gloominess. So, I personally kind of felt that it was your most cheerful album or EP. Well, wow. The first song was Joy. Yeah. So, would you say, all the years, you being in New York, how has that developed your own music?
It's really about people that around me, and a lot of the people that I admire, a lot of people that I love creating music with happen to be in New York.
Right.
So, I think that's the biggest reason that I live in New York. I mean, at the same time, I love traveling. I love going to new places. I love meeting new people. And then, that's one of the best things about, being a musician is that I get to travel and then really just sort of make connections in everywhere that I go. So that definitely, influence what I do and what I hear and what I create.
So you would say like your most recent work is kind of influenced by, what's surrounding you at that particular moment.
Always, yeah. Mm-hmm. And always, because music is just part of me, part of my life.
And besides making your own music, you also, produce others, collab with others. What would you say are the biggest differences? Like, for example, for your own music, you might be able to do whatever you want. But when you're working with others, there are times where, this producer might say, oh, I want to go with their style. But there are also some artists that are like, oh, I find this producer or I find this person to collab with because I want their style. So what kind of...
Well, style, maybe it's one thing, but you know what? To me, the most difficult thing, the hardest thing about making music is to finish in it. Starting is easy, coming up with some cool ideas, some 4-bar loop, cool like little melody, whatever. It's easy to start some stuff, but finishing it as like just one finished product is the hardest. So working with somebody, oftentimes, they also help finishing it. Or there's a producer that would say, yo, this song is done. This is cool. It's cool. Stop. They're like, cool. All right. Because if it was my thing, if I had nobody to stop me, I could just be like working on it forever. Because, we grow every day, right? We hear all this, we get all this new information, all this new influences every day. So just how you hear things, it just constantly change, And also like we are, unfortunately we are perfectionists, and then, perfection doesn't necessarily exist in the art, but, because it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna get really deep in it because I don't think I can word them out accurately, but, there's no perfection, but we are perfectionists. Like we want to make it, it's just, it's the perfect thing, and which is almost impossible. Right. So it's always help. It always helps to have somebody else who'll be like, yo, that's cool, that's good stuff. Right. It's easier in a way, working with other people.
Right.
I can be more like, I can focus on the input more, not necessarily about finishing it, really.
Okay, so you're a man with quite a status. Your participation in, We Got It From Here, Thank You For Your Service. And, for Your Eyes Only, landed #1 on the US Billboard charts. So that makes you, the #1, the first Japanese artist after 36 years since Yoko Ono.
I read that somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
And, also because you have 2 albums, so that makes you the first Japanese artist to have 2 number 1s. And besides that,
I guess that's cool.
yeah, besides that, you're voted, the best keyboardists among, the greats like, Harvey Hancock, Chick Corea, and Robert Glasper, from the readers of Jazz Times. So with that...
Oh, that happened, 2014?
Later.
I don't
know. So, how do you feel about all these achievements?
Well, I'm glad that I have a lot of supportive friends. So I guess that's what the voting was from. Voting's work from, So big thanks to my friends. Well, being nominated and then, just getting the title on the readers' poll doesn't make me a better musician. But, it just reminds me that, okay, I have some support. That's lovely, That's encouraging. Yes.
And good to know that you have recognition.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's say when I was, working with the Q-Tips camp, working on a Tribes album. I personally didn't really feel like, okay, I'm doing something that's part of the history. You know what I mean? It was just pure energy exchange. Just music. Kid worked on some pre-production, re-listening to the music, and then we started jamming to it, and kind of start throwing our own ideas and we just jamming in the studio. You know what I mean? Nobody was thinking, wow, this is gonna be part of the Tribes. We would just be just in the music, and just pure energy. And then just music goes on, and then Q-Tips listening to what's going on in the headphone. And then, when something happens musically, he will scream. He's like, yo, that's fire. We just keeps at it. And it's nothing but music. Nothing but just the pure, energy exchange, Giving. It's all about giving. Sharing and giving. And then later, and it was Q-Tips. Or the artist, responsibility to finish, right?
Yeah.
Finish them and create a finished product. That's their responsibility. That's also a big challenge. I have nothing but respect for everybody who does that. But when that music finally, goes out to the world, and then people receive that, and then start getting all the reviews, and then just kind of slowly realizing oh wow, so that actually is a big thing. It's very impactful.
Yes.
Thinking the history of music, history of hip hop, and I'm definitely happy that I'm a part of. But when I was at it, I wasn't thinking about it. So it goes to the J. Cole's recording experience.
So you just pour your heart in, and then you got something wonderful in return.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's what, we try to do. Whatever the situation is, wherever we play, whoever we play with, whoever we play for, what time is it? What time it is? It's just, I try to be honest to myself and just trying to share.
And now that you're on tour, you're in Saudi Arabia at the moment, but you will be coming here to Taiwan in April.
April, yeah!
So I'm super
excited, man.
Good to hear. So I want to ask you a few things about, things kind of related to Taiwan.
Okay, all right.
One of the first questions is that Ringo Sina. Shina? Shina.
Ringo Shina.
Yeah, because she is very, very popular in Taiwan. Okay, and then you worked with her on her single Watashi wa Neko no Me, and then instead of playing
I play a music video too.
Yeah.
Did you watch a music video?
Yes, you're playing a guitar.
Oh yeah, that thing is heavy, bro.
Okay. And then besides playing
super cool. Bro.
Yeah. Besides playing your usual, keys, because you're known as a keyboardist, right? And then you also play, the drum machine, synth bass on the other track, Saraba Junjo. So what was it like to be working with Ringo?
I mean, first of all, she's very open. open-minded, and it's just such a positive environment when the artist recognize, the artist, this, in this case, it's Ringo Shina-san, right? She recognized the musicians. She recognized me, and then likes what I do. That just that simple fact creates such a positive, creative environment. Gives me all the freedom to just kind of do whatever I hear, whatever I do. So yeah, I mean, it was fun. It's just I didn't have to care about saving myself. Gauging. I was all that. And then yeah, what's the B-side song? Junjo,
Saraba Junjo.
She already worked on the basic framework of the song, and it was already sounding super nice. So it was a very easy process for me. Oh, nice. And I would just start applying or whatever I hear on top of it, because I think that's one of my forte is, as a keyboard player, I often get called to join the band where it's already sounding semi-full, so I come in and I listen, right? As I told you about the conversation, I show up to the situation and I listen to what's going on, and I'm like, maybe I can add this, and I'll find a little pocket in the music where it's still kind of open, and find a little open places in the music and just add my thing, and I think one of my forte is to add something that will instantly become a part of the song. My goal in a situation is to add something that will become part of the song that people cannot unhear. It was already functioning as a song, but with me adding it, it would just become it. And I guess that's one of my forte, and then that's what I try. And then with this situation with Shina-san, that's what I did, and then she was very open about it. That makes me want to add more. So I was like, okay, let me add this simply. And there's certain things that Shina-san wanted also, because she got ears for really fun sound, and then she also kind of knew what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
So she was kind of in a fun way, she was challenging me, right? So I was just giving all that, and then I was like, hey, what about this, what about that, what about this, and then just trying all this kind of experimental things, having this badass drum machine, and then I got this pedal that will glitch the sound, and then just making this a pedal chain with the drum machine, and then started messing around. There was a room for some experimentation in the studio. You know what I mean? And that's fun.
Right.
And then she, as such an established artist that just gives such freedom to me. It was, such a cool thing.
So this also kind of ties back to my, previous question about, you working with others. So it's good to hear that, she is kind of very open and accepting of what you give to her. And you also previously had experiences in playing in Taiwan. You played with Kamasi Washington when you...
2019, yeah.
Yeah, when you played in Taiwan. And then you also worked with Chen Lu, the vibraphonist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's badass. I love her, yeah.
So what are some of your impressions or, memories of Taiwan? And now that you're coming over for your own show in April, what are you looking forward to?
Hey man, it's a shame that, last time I was in Taiwan, that was the first time and that was the last time, right? When I was with Kamasi. The stay was such a short period of time, We didn't really have any free time. We landed, had a few, maybe a few hours in a hotel to just, relax, right? We grouped, went to sound check, did a show. We left early the next day. My only memory was to go to maybe 7-Eleven near the hotel, and I had a rice bowl, and it had some kind of a Taiwan flavor. What was that? That lulo. I don't know. That was the only memory, man. So I'm ready to actually create the valid memory of Taiwan.
So you have more free time this time?
Sure. I hope so. I hope so. But since it's it's like my show, so I'm just expecting, it's more of like just experience,
We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, really excited. I'm really, really excited.
But you're not bringing your trio, so it's just you. So we can expect songs from all your different albums?
Possible, yeah. The solo performances are, to me, is somewhat a new venture since I started. That I started since 2020, since, Corona, the pandemic occurred. There was time that New York was completely shut, right? New York City was completely shut down. There's nothing that I could do. And then, that time Tokyo was kind of open, and then I got invited to performing in Japan. But I couldn't, for obvious reason, I couldn't bring my band. They were American, and then Japan closed the border.
Right.
For foreigners. For people who didn't have the Japanese citizenship. So I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to Japan during the pandemic. And then, that's when I started exploring doing solo performances. It started with me playing a solo piano. And then I started including looping, some synthesizer, using some sound design and then drum machine. Mm-hmm. And then it started becoming more of a live production.
So it was
real-time, production.
So it was like a gradual process.
And then I was just, it was the best thing that happened to me during the pandemic because it gave me, all these opportunities to really try things out in front of audience.
We'll be looking forward to your show in Taiwan. And that about wraps up our interview today.
Awesome.
So thank you very much. But before we end, I like, it'll be great if you can just say a few words, to the camera so that we can show the audience, tell us who you are. Obviously, you're Bigyuki. And then I forgot to mention that, you're Bigyuki. And then at our office, we have another petite Yuki.
Say that again?
You're Bigyuki, right? And then in our office, we have a colleague also called Yuki. But she's a tiny girl. Yeah, so she's petite Yuki.
Petite Yuki is the office. Yeah. Let's go. Well, this is Big Yuki. I'm super excited to come see y'all in Taiwan in April. We're gonna have some fun, all right?